Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and most of the time when I'm here talking about new lens gear, and a lot of which is often quite expensive. And so I thought I would just take a couple of minutes today and talk to you about one of my favorite just for fun lenses, and that is an old vintage SMC Takumar 50mm f1.4. This is back from the film era days. It is an M42, what used to be called a screw mount. And fortunately, the M42 mount is one that adapts really well to modern cameras. And I primarily use this on a Canon 6D body, which I have set up for manual focus shooting with an EGS focus screen. And before we start to jump in and look at some of these images, I just want to kind of give you the background of what I'm doing here. I pull this lens out every, 5-6 weeks and just have fun with it because it's really a joy to use. It's got a beautiful focus ring and it really produces quite amazing images despite its age. It's probably as old as I am. One thing I will note is that it helped me a lot when I switched to the Photodiox Pro M42 to Canon EF adapter. It enabled full infinity focus without any kind of mirror touching or mirror hang, and so that's certainly a worthy investment. It's 20 bucks. I'll throw a link down below to it. But what I'm about to show you is yesterday evening I just took the lens out basically in my backyard, and over about 7 minutes I shot a number of images that I want to share with you that shows you why for under 100 bucks you can find off eBay, or perhaps even cheaper at a pawn shop or an estate sale, you can find one of these old lenses, adapt it to your modern cameras, and really produce some pretty amazing images. Let's take a look at just what you can do. From beginning to end, looking at the timestamp here, that this was about 7 minutes worth of shooting. So here, one of the things that I love is when you have a chance to shoot in golden hour and you have some, low-level sunlight, it really has a really unique rendering that's quite pleasing. And yes, it has some flare sympathies. Obviously, it's veiling here, but in an artistic way. You have to be careful, and it's kind of out of the frame right now at the very bottom of this image. But I certainly, you have to watch where you position. There is a fairly big ghosting effect that will happen. But here at f1.4, you can see that, while sharpness is not amazing by modern standards, there is a good amount of sharpness there. And then, of course, a really, beautiful bokeh rendering here that has a lot of artistic value. And another image here, and so obviously I've gone into the shade. And so you can see, here's another thing. This lens really has really great color rendition, and also some nice three-dimensional pop here. And once again, like I'm not crazy about. I mean, there's a plane of sharpness here. It doesn't blow my mind in terms of the resolution, but it's enough overall sharpness and resolution to provide a compelling looking image at a normal viewing size here, wide open at f1.4. Here again, now in this image, just because I find that with the kind of the bright white of the last flowers, it doesn't do quite as well here because it's not having to deal with a kind of a micro contrast on the subject that's in focus. It does a better job of providing resolution, and I think you could probably add some sharpness, further sharpness there without too much problem. But of course it's the overall look here, and while this is a little bit busier than what say modern lenses are, say I just did the Zeiss Milvus 50mm f1.4, and it would be far less distracting, very soft and beautiful. But still, this provides kind of a unique vintage look that a lot of people are partial to, including myself. And so overall, a very nice looking image here. Here you can see what I talked about when I spoke about the overall ghosting effect that can happen. But here also you see the positive, that where I've put the sun just coming around the corner of a building, and here with this golden hour light, so I got a really cool prismatic effect, which really looks a lot like what you would add in post-processing using software plugins anyway. And then here, very nice color and really quite credible sharpness here at f1.4, and so overall, obviously a very artistic result from that. Here again, this is at a little bit further away, and this is kind of back to that same subject, but the light had changed, and so now there's a lot of illumination for all of this bokeh background here. And so once again, on the the actual subject, I'm not blown away by the way it handles kind of the bright white contrast things. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not fantastic either. But again, it's the overall look of the image. And then if we move in a little bit closer, we get more softness to the background. This is all still at f1.4. And I think a little bit more credible handling of the actual, you know, area plane of focus here, even with the kind of white highlights there. In this image here, for one thing, I think that that's a pretty decent amount of contrast there at f1.4 for a vintage bit of glass, and so you know, I like the overall handling of this here. Again, I noticed when I shot with the Milvus, a very similar shot with the Milvus 50mm f1.4, that this whole area was much softer and creamier. But, you know, if you're looking for kind of some artistic rendering, this also works, I think, in a nice way, even though I would say this here is a little bit busy. But remember, this is a lens that, you know, you can get off eBay any day of the week for typically no more than $100. And so, I mean, it's a lot of, you know, bang for the buck for that. And here, just stepping back a little bit more, we see that in our area of focus, you know, there's pretty decent resolution overall there. You can see just that bit of haze that it's you know, doesn't have quite the micro contrast of modern lenses, but at the same time, you know, it's enough to give that nice three-dimensional effect there. And once again here, you know, just, you know, unique rendering on this subject. And once again, I'm not crazy about that part, but overall the look of the image is cool. Now here I just wanted to show you two final images that were taken during this period of time. This, again, putting the sun in the frame, but I've done it in such a way, and the sun is muted some, so we're not really having any kind of real flare effect here. But it looks nice, and again, along that very narrow plane of focus at f1.4, quite a decent amount of resolution. And then if we stop it down here to f2, you're going to see, number one, okay, obviously our highlights are smaller a bit because we're stopping down. The challenge with older lenses is that the aperture blades are not circular, and so here you can see you're beginning to show the shape of the blades, which in this case there are 8 aperture blades, and you can see the shape of them beginning to form. But if you don't, it's still circular enough, I think, to pass muster here. And if you look here, we've obviously added, let's just go back for a moment, so you can see with the previous area, the plane of focus is smaller and the overall contrast and sharpness isn't up to, here's the f2 look, so, you know, more kind of pop. And so if you want to add on more sharpness or extend your depth of field, you can still get a very credible looking images at f2 with more contrast, more resolution. So as you can see, really for a very small investment, you can have a lens that really has some quite beautiful rendering and can produce some very artistic, very pleasing images. On top of that, it's a lens that is beautifully manufactured, and also, as you can see, it's really compact. I really love the fact that I can bring a 50mm f1.4 lens along sometimes in such a small, compact package. These days, most of the modern lenses are many times bigger than this. You know, the image quality is good enough, and in fact, stop down, this lens is razor sharp for shooting landscapes, and so I often will take it along when I'm traveling just because it gives me a different look with a very low hit in terms of size. So there you have it, one of the reasons why I love the old vintage SMC Takumar 50mm f1.4 lens. If you want to take a look down below also, I've got a link to a gallery of images from this lens, and perhaps you might enjoy that. I'm Dustin Abbott. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Have a great day.